Video game adaptations have had a pretty rough go at it. As far as adaptations go, Assassin's Creed, Uncharted, Prince of Persia, The Sands of Time all share one thing in common: consensus of being absolutely terrible. With the release of The Last of Us Season 1, it felt like the evil had finally been defeated. Not because it was a perfect adaptation, but because it understood the inherently cinematic nature of the original video game, while making a few key changes to translate the story to the medium of television. But if the first season of The Last of Us succeeded because it adapted one of the greatest video game stories ever told, it stood to reason to expect that The Last of Us Part 2 would end up on the opposite spectrum of quality. Creators Neil Druckmann and Craig Mazin have historically taken a faithful approach to the material, so I had no reason to expect I would be a fan of Season 2, considering the video game is one of the most disappointing sequels put to any console. Surprisingly, I was both right and wrong about The Last of Us Season 2. I was right because in fact, Season 2 is absolutely terrible, a follow-up which pales in comparison to the original in every way, and I was wrong because the problems with this season go far beyond any of the problems in the source material. In fact, the worst parts of this season emerge from the areas where the creatives deviate from the game, or more accurately fail to consider the process of translating something from one medium to another. Beware, there will be huge spoilers for not only the TV show, but The Last of Us Part 2 video game as well. Druckmann and Mazin have set out to adapt The Last of Us Part 2 in not just one season or two, but a whopping 3 seasons, which is a dumbfounding decision considering the second game is not even double the length of the original game, and that game was told in 1 season of TV. But I suppose it's a decision that has to do less with expanding the depth of the characters, and instead has to do with expanding the creators' bank accounts. This winds up being an nonsensical, terrible idea, not only because in this modern TV landscape, it likely means you'll have to wait 7 years to see the overall story be told. It's a terrible idea because you can clearly see the writers stretching the material thin to meet their self-imposed 3-season quota. This is a season with 7 episodes. With such few episodes, the notion of even one filler episode is unacceptable, and this has multiple. If you were to summarize this season into narrative bullet points, you would end up with an astoundingly short list, unless you classify a character's walk and talk from one place to another as a significant narrative event. This season follows Ellie's quest for vengeance against Abby for the killing of Joel, and I use the term quest lightly because she spends the majority of the season going from one location to another until she finds Abby. And if you sat on the edge of your seat waiting to see this confrontation, then sit on the edge of your seat for a few years longer, because the season terminates the moment the two come face to face in a cliffhanger so egregious, the only way this ending could be more inherently incomplete is if Ellie literally hung off a cliff. Now that I mention it, I'm pretty sure the cliffhanger in Fast X literally involved Vin Diesel falling off a cliff, but I digress. Now, the common argument in defense of this ending is, but that's literally what happens in the game. Abby and Ellie come face to face only for us to cut to a flashback of Abby's perspective of the entire thing, which ignores 2 key points. 1, I hated it when it happened in the original game. 2, and I don't recall the game asking you to wait a couple of years for the next chapter, which, if the free-falling ratings are any indication, might have to stay in the drafts. Now, let's stop beating around the bush and talk about the fatal flaw in this season: the death death of Joel. In the first season of The Last of Us, Druckmann and Mason possessed an intuitive instinct about which aspects of the original game would work well in the medium of television and which ones won't. And while the death of Joel Miller was far from a home run in the original game, it's even less effective in this show. If you've spent $100 to buy a video game, chances are you'll stick around till the finish line. And hey, maybe it'll win you over. But if you're watching a TV show on HBO Max, chances are you didn't pay the subscription specifically for this one TV show, so it becomes much easier to simply stop watching a show when they kill your favorite character off. Which means that the majority of viewers won't have the patience to stick around for an additional 2 seasons to see the extent of this payoff. Going into this season, I found solace in the fact that Joel would likely continue to pop up in flashbacks every now and then, as he does in the original game. But for reasons beyond my understanding, the showrunners decided to cram all of the flashbacks into one episode, which means there's no light at the end of the tunnel during the majority of the others. But there's no burying the lead around the fact that Bella Ramsey is no Ashley Johnson. When Joel died, we're not just swapping Joel for Ellie. We're swapping Pedro Pascal for Bella Ramsey, which is a little like trading a burger from a Michelin-star restaurant for a bite from a McDonald's. Make no mistake, I absolutely loved Bella's performance in the first season. Many viewers made a fuss about the lack of physical resemblance to the character, but most importantly, she captured the spirit of the character, the rebellious energy, which is a red herring from a vulnerable heart. But a leading woman she is not, nor is she a grown woman. If The Last of Us Season 1 was Ellie at 14, this is not Ellie at 19. This is Ellie at 14 and a half. While on the surface, this season appears like an all-you-can-eat of different problems, the issues with this season all fall under the umbrella of a fundamental issue, and one which represents a stark contrast with the first season. Whereas The Last of Us Season 1 was a product of borrowing the right things from the source material and changing the aspects which wouldn't translate as well to the medium of TV, Season 2 takes a story which was flawed in its original medium and fails to effectively translate it to a new one. Walking from one location to another might work in the medium of video games where gameplay is paramount, but here it makes for incredibly boring television. The decision to kill off Joel is an out of left field risk which could work in the medium of video games where the commitment and the patience of a consumer is almost guaranteed. But in the medium of television, all you're gonna get is a bunch of people who no longer want to watch your show. The show makes some pretty great casting decisions. Isabella Merced's Dina is an absolute force of charisma. It's great to see young Mazzino pop up in his first major role since Beef, and while Caitlin Dever's Abby stands in strong contrast to the burly bodybuilder in The Last of Us Part 2, but beyond the new castmates and the technical craft of the show, praise here is far and few in between. And if I end up watching Season 3, it'll probably only be to tell you how terrible it is and save you the time from watching it. And for that, I'm giving this one a 3 out of 10. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for weekly TV and movie reviews. And if you stuck around for The Last of Us Part 2, jump in the comments and let us know what you thought about it. I'm Santa Mike, and I'll see you next time.